Good evening, I am Tomas Guevara Calderon, and this is the channel Rewriting the Reality. Subscribe to this channel to understand the shift in consciousness we have been experiencing since 1995. Introduction. In today's episode number 179, we will delve into the concept of non-binary orientation and its implications on our identity and perception. Understanding non-binary orientation. The term non-binary started gaining prominence in the 1990s as part of the broader LGBTQIA movement to recognize gender identities beyond the traditional male and female binary. Non-binary is an umbrella term for gender identities that don't fit within the conventional male or female binary. People might identify as a mix of both genders, neither gender, or something entirely different. Non-binary terms include genderqueer, genderfluid, agender, and bigender. The science and its misconceptions. In this podcast, I will explain why science is incorrect in identifying non-binary identities solely with gender. In reality, it pertains more to orientation. We have not completely defined the term non-binary, as we have not defined orientation, and I will do it again today. Exploring orientation beyond gender. There is a third element beyond the traditional male and female identities, orientation. This element is crucial in understanding identity. We must experience three orientations: male, female, and the other, which people now wrongly call homosexuality. Personal examples and experiences. You can say, I am female, and I was puzzled because I've always been drawn to the earlier ideas that tend to be non-binary, like knowing that I wasn't, but my attraction. We used to call them androgynous or combining qualities. It was appealing to me, but I've always been female. And yet I'm not overly feminine. I was a tomboy, with motorcycles, more comfortable around my boy cousins. I can still do the female thing, but again it's part of that identity thing. I have old friends who are non-binary, and I'm not. So, I don't have much to offer in the knowing part, but I'm all in to learn. Or you can say, I knew early on, as a teenager, and in the 70s I thought it was natural to be drawn to androgynous public figures and musicians. It wasn't about sexuality, it was an attraction or resonance. I also felt very rejecting of the male role. Things tossed at me at that time to become a man. I bought it and did it for 30 years, then had to unwind it all. It did not sit well with me that I was expected to embody the male role, especially being big and strong, in a predominantly Catholic family. Defining non-binary and orientation. Non-binary is what I had introduced as other. Collectively, people have chosen this terminology, meaning not one or the other. We have male and female, and then there is a third of our population considered non-binary. They don't identify with either male or female but don't oppose either. They don't fit into the structure of male or female. Many non-binary people are comfortable with altering their physical form to become more androgynous, which has no sexual identity. It's not that they are non-sexual, although many of them can be. We are talking about male and female sexual energy. Non-binary people have both male and female energy, just like everyone else, but they don't define it, they are simply themselves, somewhat in the middle. They don't think about being more male or female, they just proceed as themselves with a blend of energy, comfortable not identifying in one direction or the other. Addressing confusion and acceptance. This is also the reason it may be confusing to many people because younger individuals are stepping away from traditional terms to identify each other. This is why they are moving toward they and them, because it's neutral. It's difficult for many people to accept this because it's so foreign. To those who identify as male/female, he, she, these other terms seem silly. They seem almost ridiculous because we look at an individual clearly perceived as male or female. But there is confusion. This century marks the objective part of this shift. Many things are coming to light and into our awareness that weren't expressed in the previous century. We're moving into individuality and the objective expression of ourselves, becoming more self-aware. This means that all of us who aren't non-binary also have to begin to define ourselves because these people are defining themselves. Now, what are you? What does that do? How does that reflect on you? How do you see yourselves? Early awareness and struggles. Regardless of whether you identify as male, female, or non-binary, you would have been aware of this from childhood. As a child, you may not have fit into stereotypical gender roles but still identified with your gender. If non-binary, you would have felt from childhood that you didn't quite fit into male or female roles but had to due to societal pressures. All of us and our identities. Therefore, some identify very strongly as male or female. Actually, in terms of homosexual individuals, they even have words for different expressions of people who identify differently. This discussion is about how we see our identity and how we express ourselves. All those identifying as non-binary will become role models for new generations, which older generations didn't have. Being homosexual, bisexual, or heterosexual is only a preference, not an orientation. Everyone has male and female energies, and there are outside influences like culture, family, and beliefs. Our previous century saw a tremendous push for women's equality, influencing fertility, prostate problems, and increased sexual diseases. This is an example of the influences around us. We've learned from a male-dominated world how to be successful, which influenced female energy. Moving beyond gender. Non-binary is not as connected to sexuality as we think. It's more about perception and identity. It's not necessarily about the body but how we see and perceive ourselves and how we want others to see each other. The interconnection of identity. We might not be able to separate orientation from gender identity because they are intertwined. Common individuals see the world from the perspective of their gender, intermediate and soft individuals see from the opposite gender, and soft individuals are more subjective and interactive. Conclusion. Thank you for joining me in this exploration of the essence of life. I hope today's discussion has provided new insights and perspectives. Remember, we are all creators of our own reality, and by embracing the interconnectedness of all things, we can cultivate a deeper understanding and respect for ourselves and others. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and share it with your family and friends. If you wish for more information, you can buy my books in Amazon.com. Until next time, keep exploring the essence of life.